Welcome to the Empty Nest Kitchen, where we're finding fun in the kitchen now that the kids have flown the coop. I'm Christine Van Bloom, a cooking teacher with over 25 years of experience, here to show you tips, tricks, and joy in your kitchen, all while trying something new. Let's get cooking.
Well, hello there. I am, as always, completely thrilled to have you listening because this week, holy bananas, do I want to talk to you about something awesome. All right. So you may know if you've checked out the website emptynestkitchen.com, you may have seen that I took a culinary medicine class this past summer. It was through my local community college, super cool, and it was created by the folks at George Washington University. Now, this class was really special. I thought it was very cool because the entire purpose of the class was for food service professionals. So, those of us that are actively cooking, this was not for doctors. There's a separate thing for doctors and nurses and RDs and, all of that good stuff. But this was a program that was created specifically for food service. And as a heart attack survivor and the recent recipient of a brand new stent, I was pretty interested. It's always been kind of a fascinating topic for me, but I am definitely not registered dietitian material here. Let me tell you, that is so not my game. Let those professionals have all that science. I'm about food, right? So as I did this program, it lasted, I guess it lasted about 3.5 months. And every week we focused on an aspect of health and diet. Now, it's really important for you to understand that when I say diet, I am not talking about, drink 6 glasses of water and eat 4 grapes. That is not what I'm talking about. When I say diet, I am talking about the way that we eat normally, right? Or our normal everyday. And one of the things, I thought this was so interesting. One of the first things that I learned was that the standard American diet is called SAD, right? SAD, standard American diet. And I thought, oh my gosh, they are talking about meat because I don't know if you all know this, but chefs do not eat well. I mean, if you're Thomas Keller or Eric Repair or someone like that, yeah, you're probably going to be eating pretty well, I would think. But if you are an average Joe that owns a cooking school or works in a restaurant kitchen, I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, when your shift is done, you're either trying to scarf some sort of leftover or you're stopping at your local fast food joint. I know it's terrible. It's a terrible thing. Back when I was in culinary school 120 years ago, my Chef Mike, he was the best. And he lived, I don't know, 10 blocks away from the school, 15 blocks away from the school. So I remember a couple of nights as the weather got nicer, one of my fellow students and I would walk Chef Mike basically down to his apartment. Then I'd catch a cab and go across town. But we would talk to Chef Mike because we just adored the man, just totally adored him. And I remember we're walking down Second Avenue one night and I said, Chef Mike, do you just eat the best food all the time? And he looked at me and he laughed and he said, I eat Chinese food and McDonald's. And my heart literally broke on the sidewalk of the Upper East Side because, when you go to culinary school, you have all of these delusions of what your life is going to be like as you enter the world of food. And the world of food is about serving other people. So taking this course this summer was so interesting because, again, as that heart attack survivor, I wanted to learn more about this and not just for myself, personally, right? Because I am all about teaching. I am all about sharing the things I learn. And one of the things that they really are pushing hard in this program is the Mediterranean diet. And I had heard of the Mediterranean diet, and I like to eat that way. I always think of Mediterranean diet, along the Mediterranean diet, like Greek food comes heavily to mind, Turkish, all the sort of countries around there. I always think of lemon and garlic and all sorts of yummy greens. And that is one of the things that this program is built on. Cool, right? So there are all these studies. And I don't know if you've heard, but there's a little controversy now about these blue zones. I don't know if you've heard this, but a fella came out, and apparently some of the places that have these blue zone diets, right, where folks routinely live over 100, well, they also have really poor record keeping. What? So they're saying that it's being proven now that folks have died, but their family just keeps collecting their pension. And that is why you're having these records of people living to be 108 and whatever. So I don't know. This is a new controversy. Okay. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. And hopefully, it's not meaning that this is not going to work, because I don't think any of us are really expecting to live to 108. Well, my husband is. I think my husband is. So what exactly does the Mediterranean diet include, right? The foundation of it is really plants. It's considered a plant forward diet. Now, plant forward doesn't mean vegan. It doesn't mean all plants. Plant forward means really we're looking at 80% plants, 20%, I'll just call it other. All right. But the foundation, the hallmark of this is really upping the plants in your diet. So think of it more as having a 4-ounce steak with gorgeous roasted vegetables and some sort of whole grains with a salad. And it's part of the meal, but it's not the star of the show, right? So that's kind of what we're going with. We're not saying we're not going to eat any cheese, because let's be honest, a life without cheese. Oh, but we're saying we're going to be really moderate with it. And those plants are really going to pick up the show there. So it also talks about red meat. It can be included, sure, of course, but it's an occasional thing, not an everyday thing. We're really going to lean harder into fish with the Mediterranean diet. And if you are like my sister-in-law, Laura, who I love tremendously, or my daughter, Anna, they are fish haters, right? They just hate fish. There's nothing you can do about it. So it's important that you're working other lean proteins into the whole thing, right? Because nobody's going to force you to eat something you don't want to eat. Who wants to do that? That's awful. But fish is a big part of it. And when I think of fish, I think not just of a hunk of salmon, which I'll be honest, I actually love salmon, but I think of tuna. I think of all of the tinned fish, and you should go back and listen to my tinned fish episode, because that will give you lean protein all day, baby. But think about different kinds of fish. I think about shrimp a lot too, because as someone who is cooking for two, shrimp are the easiest starved thing in the world if you keep a bag of frozen shrimp in your freezer. They're super easy to thaw and get things going. So, Mediterranean diet, we are working with as much whole food as we can. And one of the things that we want to avoid, and this is just kind of a lesson for myself, I guess, but the ultra processed foods are really where we're running into the problem. And somebody with heart stuff, I need to be watching my salt. Okay. And those overprocessed, ultra processed things, they're just loaded with the sodium. It is hidden sodium. And I got to tell you, it doesn't matter where sodium comes from. It really doesn't. It all hits you the same, whether it's naturally occurring or whether it's added to a bag of potato chips. It doesn't matter. And the recommended daily allowance, are you ready for this? 2,300 milligrams. Do you know how much that is? That's a teaspoon. Every day, you're supposed to have a teaspoon of salt. And I have to tell you, I'm not a salt girl. Like, I'm not a salty snack girl, but for me, I always say that I'm really good at seasoning. I'm really good at salt because salt is a flavor enhancer, but we just get way too much salt in our diets. You know, another episode, if you are catching up, go and listen to the Salt Sanity episode with Chef Danielle Turner, because she has an entire website, and I'll put this in the show notes for you, but she has an entire website dedicated to low sodium eating. And I have to tell you, I find her Facebook page to be really helpful because she points out like hidden sources and ways around it and all of that. So, as part of this Mediterranean diet, we are trying to cut our salt back as well, right? So, as we go through all of this training, every week is something different. So, we're learning macronutrients, we're learning micronutrients, we're learning how to cook for a renal diet, we're learning how to work with someone who has aphasia, right? Which is when you're having trouble swallowing. And we learned about it's not as easy as just chucking everything in a blender, right? Because you want to make sure that the person is enjoying the food and that it's still tasty, but it's making all of the rambles. We learned about quack diets. And I will say, we had a week where we cooked the quack diets, like each team cooked quack, and we just all leaned heavy on the red meat. And I think one team chose keto and the other chose Atkins. And they're so similar. They're really a reduction in carbs. And I didn't learn anything except, ugh, that is just not a way that I want to eat. And I kind of keep going back to the Mediterranean diet because of all of the benefits that it has and how well rounded it is. That's something that really gets me going with it. And then, as a menopausal woman, I went through this whole thing and we had to do a capstone project. Now, I graduated college back in the very late 80s, and the capstone was not part of things. That, we didn't do that. And I got a little excited about it. So as I started going through everything, as I started doing my research, and they said they were really easy about it. They said, you can do anything you want. As long as it relates to what we're teaching in the course, you can do anything you want. So fantastic, right? So I start looking ahead in the course, and there's nothing about menopause. And I'm like, say what? So then I thought, okay, well, there is a book that I wanted to get, and I think it's called Nutrition for Chefs. I was like, cool, this is going to work really well with this course, and I'm going to get this book and I'll see what they say. And I open it up, and menopause is not mentioned once, not one single time. So that was my capstone, baby. And that is where I really did a deep dive. I mean, I was going to my local library. I was taking every book out. The librarians actually asked me what I was doing, which I thought was so funny. But I told them because I was excited. And I started digging in on the research. And can I tell you, by the year 2030, that's not that far away, right? 1.2 billion, that's billion with the B, people are going to be postmenopausal. 1.2 billion. and it wasn't mentioned anywhere. Well, listen, this is just shades of going back to when I was 7 and we were moving into our new house, and all of the men and all of the boys took their shirts off to cut the grass and do the thing. And I took my shirt off because I was helping with the yard work too. And I was told, no, 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 you can't do that. You can't do that. And I was like, what? Oh, I think that was around the time they were starting to throw around the phrase male chauvinist. My poor dad. But it just didn't sit right. So I started getting in there and I started looking around, and I found out that the Mediterranean diet, there are studies that show that it reduces the risk of hot flashes, hallelujah, heart disease, and even more. And I was like, because I do not want to do anything wacky diet wise. I just don't. I need really good food. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to approach things. Whole grains, fab. I totally love whole grains. I'm beyond the basmati rice, right? Which I love because it smells like popcorn. But whole grains forever. And I wanted to get into this. So I wanted to feel better because I can tell you every night at 7 o'clock, I was having a hot flash. And I started to realize that sugar, and I love sugar, sugar was provoking my hot flashes a little bit. Now, this is just me. This is just anecdotal. I don't have some big study to show you about Chris Van Bloom sitting in her TV room at 7 o'clock at night, and her husband knows to turn the fan on. But this is about kind of paying attention. So I started leaning in to the med diet. And let me just tell you, I feel better. I do. I do. When I follow the Mediterranean diet, I feel good. I feel strong and I feel powerful. And this isn't a hard thing to do. So being the person that I am, because I am who I am, I started to think about how could I use this information to be of service to other people? Because I love that. That's where that teaching thing comes back. I feel very self-serving this week, like me. But I wanted to figure out how I could best serve people with this new knowledge that I've gained. And I'm waiting to hear if I pass my tests yet to see if I get my certification. I'm very excited. I really hope I did. I studied my face off. Didn't necessarily help, but I started thinking, what are women going to want here? How can I help? And I came up with menopause meal plans. Now, I wish I had a catchier, cooler, cuter name, but menopause meal plans are curated recipes with a curated shopping list that every week you are going to get recipes sent to you that fall within the parameters of the Mediterranean diet. Now, this isn't anything, again, I am a food person. I know food. So I'm using the research that's out there and is available. This isn't about eating supplements or any of that stuff. This is about good food that doesn't take forever to cook, that's going to make you feel good from the inside out, right? So every week, 3 nutritionally sound menus that adhere to the principles of the Mediterranean diet. I'm going to give you a shopping list every week to make it a breeze. I'm going to give you the tips and the tricks that are going to help you make the timing of this work. So if you're like a Sunday meal prepper, amen, good for you. I'm totally not. But I'm going to say, here's what you can do for your Sunday meal prep. Make your farro for the week now. Make your pickled red onions for the week now, if that's how you want to go. And because everybody likes something different, I'm going to give you substitution suggestions for every menu. So fish haters rejoice. I'm not going to make fish a big part of your menu. It is a big part of this, I'll be honest, but there are substitutions you can do as you go through. It's important because if you don't like what you're eating, you're not going to eat it and you're not going to stick to it, right? And this is about, again, feeling good from the inside out. All of the recipes are scaled for 2 people because we are empty nesters. It's who we are. We don't need to make gigantic meals. And I will say, though, if you want, you can scale them up pretty easily. It's going to work for you. If you're one of those, I'm going to make a little extra and had it for lunch the next day. Love that. That sounds awesome. I also wanted to make it really fun and special. And I created a private Facebook group, as one does, so that all of the members can get in there. And if you have questions, if you have comments, if you want to know something, that's what the group is for. Because we're not totally going for, this is the worst time of my life. No, we're leaning with positivity and light. But the other day, one of my members, Brenda, said, I know we're doing this butternut squash, but I am not quite sure how to do it. I'm not quite sure how to make it work. How do you peel it? I always have trouble. Suggestion number 1, well, buy that sucker already peeled and cut. If that's what makes your life happy, then don't worry about it. Then I did a video for her that I posted in the group and said, here's how I would peel a butternut squash, and showed her. I'm also going to do live demos and live classes privately within the group because I think that's a fun thing to do. Just for members, not for anyone else, because we are in it together and we're going to have some fun. And are you ready for this? Because this, I don't know if this is the best part. $19 a month. No, $19 a month. You heard it right. And if you're like, oh, I am so in, because of course you are, $49 for the quarter. Can you believe that? I know, because here's what my intention is. I want us to take control of our lives. I want us to take control of our health. I want us to feel good, right? I want to feel good. I want to get my energy back. And again, I can't say it enough. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about doctor stuff, but I do know food and I know how to make food taste really good. And I can help you so you can make food taste really good so you can make it fast and feel accomplished and know that you're giving yourself the fuel that you deserve in this phase of your life. That's what it is. So you go to emptynestkitchen.com and you will see right on the homepage, there it is, Menopause Meal Plans, and it's going to show you what to do. You're going to sign up. And then you get access to the library. Not a super high-tech system, but it's high-tech stuff that it works. You can cancel whenever you want, but of course you won't want to. You want to tell all your friends because you're going to be like, holy cow, that food is delicious. You get the plans every Thursday. I'll post for the next week. I'll give you all the ideas for what to do on Sunday. And then don't forget, you get to connect with people who are doing the same thing. I want to help you cook your way to your very best life, right? That is what we want. That's what we want. So check out Menopause Meal Plans. Check it out on the website, emptynestkitchen.com. If you have questions, let me know. And if I don't know them, I'll find out the answer for you. Drop me a line, ask me your questions, sign up for Menopause Meal Plans, and take control. You're going to fuel your body and simplify your life. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll catch you next week. Oh, and if you're catching this before the 29th of September, I have a fantastic Cooking with Whole Grains class coming up this Sunday, the 29th, virtually at 4 p.m. Caramelized veggies with a crispy tofu And if you're not into tofu, don't worry, I have substitutions. Um, Overnight oats, because you should know how to do that, and a barley risotto. It's so good. It's so good. And you can find it on emptynestkitchen.com. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the kitchen.